Oh, there you are. Okay, I probably don't have to message you then. My long response.
Oh yeah, how you doing?
I don't know if this would be beneficial for the faculty to go through in honesty, but I guess I was curious about the full scope of our project. Hey, Brother Gibbons.
Well, if it's, I don't know what you're talking about, but if it's like a real world scenario, the scope is creeping.
The scope is creeping. What do you mean by that?
Have you heard of the term scope creep?
Uh-uh.
It means the scope of your work keeps expanding.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That is very true. So yeah, like me and Brother Godfrey were trying to do just an overall um, kind of picture and diagram of what's included in Constellation right now.
Hmm.
Just trying to, put it maybe all in one. And he actually started a pretty good, he found like a demo one that has a lot, but I don't know. There was that, but that could be done anytime. I was just, I know there's a lot we can do with the Docker group.
Yeah. Well, I'm open to pretty much whatever.
Yeah. Or I guess so. um, our dev environment's down again, and I think it's for the first reason when it went down before we did like the update database method. I think that's kind of
Oh, where it couldn't find something that it expected?
yeah. So I'll tell you the error now. So actually, I was getting a different error, and now we'll see. Probably just have to look at the logs. Otherwise, it won't show us much of anything.
I just tried it, and I think we might have to restart the pod.
Oh, okay.
So if you just scale it to 0 and scale it to 1, you should be able to see some logs.
Okay. I'm trying to remember where you did that 0 to 1 again. Is that in the console or is that in the
kubectl scale deploy constellation web. It's like I'll type it. kubectl. Hey Corey.
Buddy.
Scale deploy constellation web dash dash replicas equals 0. That scales it to nothing, which is kind of like shutting down the pod.
Okay.
It actually is shutting down the pod, not kind of like it. And then if you want to turn it back on, you just repeat that same thing with replicas equals 1, and that turns it back on, a new pod actually.
Okay. And when it says replica's not set, what does that mean?
Sounds like it didn't work. Should we have a prayer and then we can dive into this?
Yep, absolutely.
Cool. Do you want to say it, Ryan?
Sure. Dear Heavenly Father, we're grateful for this day today and grateful for this time to learn more and to be able to work together. And we pray that we'll be able to have a better understanding about some of these technologies and be able to use them well. We say these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ.
Amen.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah.
Are you able to share your screen? I know you've had some issues with that lately.
Yes. Let's try it at least, huh?
You don't have to. You don't want me to drive, I can drive. So far it looks good.
Maybe it just, is it dash dash replicas?
Yeah.
Okay. I think it just copied it weird.
Oh, into another character.
It must have.
You just put a T in there.
Oh,
That's what it was this time. That's not probably what it was last time.
yeah. Last time it was just copying it goofy. Oh, and there's no. I'm guessing there's supposed to be an O, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, now it's scaled. And then we scale it again.
Yeah, now you should have logs. The logs kind of like disappear after a while. I don't know. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But I noticed they're gone for right now. So
And so if this is for web, we'd have to do this, right? Grab the pod itself and then describe pod and then whatever the name is.
yeah, that's one thing that's really helpful to do. And then what did it say at the bottom there? There's an error message. Back off. Liveness probe failed. Okay. So do you know what that means? It tries to hit it on, it tries to do a GET request on the login page just to see if the browser, like there's not a real browser, but it's as if there was a browser pulling the login page.
Oh,
And if the login page doesn't respond, then it assumes it's not running, which is usually a pretty good assumption.
yeah, that makes sense.
So if you want to see why it's failing, then you want to do logs.
Oh, okay. So, and so it's not a describe. I forget, do I SH into this?
You could do kubectl logs and then the pod name. Excuse me. Nada. Okay. So yeah, can you do get pods again? I'm guessing it's in crash loop back off mode now. You know what that means?
No, not really.
Basically, it'll try starting the pod over and over and over again and checking. So see how it says restarts 4?
Yeah.
So it'll keep trying and then it exponentially backs off. So it's not going to kill your resources. So it restarts it and then it waits. Then it restarts it, then it waits more, and kind of like that.
Oh,
So what I recommend doing in this scenario is editing the deploy and removing the liveness probe
okay.
and then restarting it again. And then we can go in there and see what's going on.
I see. Would that be better to just do from here?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you would say kubectl edit deploy constellation web. And now you're in VI, so you'll have to go in insert mode, or you're in Vim rather. You'll have to go in insert mode, which is by typing the letter I.
Oh,
You just type it once and then puts you in insert mode. See how it says insert now?
Yep.
That makes it so you can type. Yay. And then keep going. And then we're going to look for the liveness probe in here. And it's right there. So see where it says liveness probe? And then everything under that, including the liveness probe, we're going to delete all these. Actually, you don't want insert mode. So if you do escape, okay, now you're out of insert mode, and you do DD, that's the letter D twice.
right where I'm at?
Yeah, that'll delete that line. Do it again, and it'll just keep deleting those lines. DD, 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 till they're all gone. And then you'll go up one and delete the one above it.
And that's it.
Keep going. Initial delay seconds should go away. Period seconds. These are all liveness. There you go.
Okay.
And then colon WQ enter. There you go. So now you've temporarily modified that. What'll happen is next time you deploy to dev, it'll overwrite that and the liveness probe will reappear.
Okay. And we can just do this as well, scale it from 1 to 0. And
That's right.
Okay.
And now it won't go into a crash loop back off.
It will.
It will not. Now it won't.
Oh,
Because you got rid of the liveness probe.
okay.
So it won't, it'll just think it's fine. It won't even know that it's crashed.
Oh, okay. Then we can do the logs.
Now you'll want to actually SSH into it if the logs don't work. But try the logs first. Try that first and see if it works because it's way easier. I think you just need to get pods again, yeah, because it created a new one.
Yeah. So this is the new guy.
If you guys need to learn your vowels, just listen carefully. And you'll hear what all the vowels are.
Oh, okay.
For seeding the database. Oh, now it's the initialize thing. Darn it.
Huh. Interesting.
Oh, okay. Okay. And what does it say? Throw more than one match exception. So it's line 158. Do you have your Visual Studio there?
Yeah. I'm guessing it's a join table that I tried to make, which seemed to not work very well.
I always love it when you get more than one result and you're expecting only one.
Yeah. Okay. And it was 158.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. This discipline join table course, because for some reason this is a very weird from the tutorials we did in class. This is what it had. It followed a similar pattern where you just did a query to grab a discipline, or in their case it was like a student where the name was like something. But yeah, it seems like it's not working very well. So I guess the best thing to do is just comment this out for the time being.
Well,
fix that.
I'm confused though. Does this work for you locally?
Locally, no. I thought it worked, and that's one thing that is hard when you have if you have the database already made, this doesn't get implemented. And so that's one reason why I was trying to test it out and work with it, and then I had to clear the database and stuff.
Well, yeah, can't you just truncate that skill discipline table and then keep trying it locally? Do you know what truncate is?
No.
It basically clears all the rows in the table.
Okay.
If that's what you're trying to test, that would be a really neat way of testing it, maybe.
Yeah.
You can truncate it and then start this up and see if it works.
So I can do that later if you want me to, or do you want to work on that right now? I know that that's not really.
Work on it now. I'm confused why here it's a problem to have more than one. Why does it say it? Oh, it's right there. So every line it says dot single, and it's like it's I'm confused. Isn't this supposed to create a new object?
So this should create a new skill discipline object. What it was supposed to do is grab the discipline ID from a query where the discipline name was like network engineering.
Oh.
And then it would grab that discipline ID and give it to this foreign key. And that's all it was supposed to do.
So it's doing a query to identify the ID for the discipline.
Yeah. And then
that query is identifying more than one row that matches.
Oh,
that's what's happening.
Yeah. Which doesn't make sense because when you come up here, there's only, let's see. I set it so that it should have only had these options.
Disciplines
So
equals.
it should have only had like 7 disciplines to pick from. Now the skills, there's a little bit more, but I don't know.
Well, why don't you query it? Why don't you query that table? Isn't that a table?
Yeah. So table, system tables. The discipline, right? What we want to look at. And we can just view the data. Technically, if it has a user or any posting types, it's not even supposed to try to populate. Yeah, just 7. And then skills, and view the data. There should be like 80 skills or so. Yeah, 83. That's what I'd expect. So it populates these just fine, and it doesn't, freak out too much. But then in the initializer, there must be something wrong with my stuff right here.
Discipline.name equals network engineering. Discipline.
And I use double quotes. Maybe I was supposed to use single quotes. I don't know.
Disciplines.single. And that's in parens. And then you're returning that back and then getting the discipline ID off of it. Oh, so it's possible that it's also the skills that's returning multiple results.
Yes, it could be.
So and if any one of these returns back more than one, then it would throw an exception. It doesn't have to be more than one.
Yeah.
I
don't think I ever duplicated a skill. I try to make sure that all of the skills were specific to that one specific discipline, at least this go around. So
to me, this is something I would just do in an insert script.
Yeah, that's what I should do instead of trying to do an initializer. I mean,
well, there's nothing wrong with this.
Yeah. Just doesn't work.
Well, do you think you have duplicates in your skills table?
I don't think so. We could even. I wonder if
you can find duplicates with a query. It's like select distinct something.
Yeah.
Find duplicates in SQL query.
I guess I just have to do a new query.
Count. Group by. Yeah, I think you can do it.
I'll have to specify my. I shouldn't have to specify my. We'll see.
You'll want to do specific columns. What are the column names again?
So there's the skill name and the skill ID. That's all that's in skill.
Okay, so let's just say select skill name.
Yes, select.
Comma. And then count. And then in parentheses, star. And then from skill, and then say group by. Or you could just run it like that if you want to run it first, Ryan, and see what that gives you.
Yeah,
you can do that.
It gives Let's execute.
Didn't like that. Select. I think you have to have a group by. I always forget this. To do count, you have to do that, I think. So then do group by before the semicolon. And there's a space between group and by.
Oh, there is. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And then skill name. And then, yeah, you could probably run that. And then if you see any with 2, that's where you have a red flag.
In 82, there's
Oh,
a 2.
There's 2 of them.
Aha.
I see 2 rows with the number 2 on them.
Yep. So then SQL. We'll just, let's see. Maybe I'll just rename it to something goofy real quick.
Yeah. Or you could change it to T-SQL or PL-SQL or something.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, that might. And I think I might have to do it in the initializer as well then. Yeah, definitely have to do it in the initializer.
Yeah, that's where the data is coming from, I'm guessing. Right?
Yeah. So instead of, we'll just do T-SQL.
So where's the second SQL one in there?
I bet I put it in software engineering.
Okay, this was the whole problem you were trying to solve, right? The nested nature of all these skills and
Yeah.
overlap between domains and that kind of thing.
And I don't know how business logic wise we're going to actually do this, because it's really like you have to know SQL to be able to be a back-end developer, but at the same time it is in the specificity of being probably a data analyst or a data, I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. So skills are not necessarily unique within a single domain. They span multiple domains.
Yeah. And that's, I don't know how we're going to, yeah. But anyway, at least thank you for helping me find that. I wasn't even aware that I had duplicated it on DB.
Or did you fix both of them?
So if I fix one, it should be okay, right?
But there were 2 rows that had the number 2 in your query.
Oh, there were 2 rows?
Mm-hmm. There's SQL, and then, unless I was just seeing things, maybe I was.
We could do another one where count like this possibly, right?
No, you'd have to change it back to star, and then you'd say having count star greater than 1 at the end, the very end.
Like a where clause, right?
Having, though, I think.
Having. I don't know if I've ever heard of that.
Maybe it's,
That's
maybe
cool.
you're right, where would work too. But
having, what was it?
It says it, yeah, having and then count star greater than 1. So, you know, the count star you did on the left, it'll look just like that. And then the greater than sign, and then 1.
Okay.
Like that.
Yeah,
Oh, you hit the IIS button. You meant this query one. You hit another green button, the IIS one.
Let me cancel that.
Stupid IIS. It's not stupid. It's just not.
Yeah, just one of them.
Okay, cool. Sorry.
No, that was a good thing to check. So I should be on a new branch. We'll just call it db fix. Wait. Duplicate. Save. Oh, it wants to save the queries. I don't care about saving the queries. Push. Uh, now we get to go back to cloud and see if that's the only error.
Yeah.
I can go to, I guess, the history, and you can see the newest one loading. I did clear stage and prod, so they should be okay to take it as well.
Did you create the new the tables again?
I didn't make the tables, I just cleared them.
Okay.
That's kind of how we did it for this dev environment as well. We cleared the database and then pushed, and then it was able to reseed it, seemed like, or
It won't do that now though, because we removed that code, if I remember right.
Well, I think I had it commented out when I pushed it and it finally came back up. I guess we'll see.
So my understanding is you you ran the migrations against local and dev from the Visual Studio environment. And then it failed to deploy in dev. And then we commented out the db migrate method call, or it's like you have a whole
Update
method.
database method.
Yeah. And then that's the one that actually creates runs the migrations on deployment. So it's not running those anymore. Which is why it stopped complaining in dev.
I see.
So what I was thinking of doing is just having us run the SQL scripts manually based on the output of that .NET script command. And
Yeah.
I can do that if you want me to.
Okay.
You can run the migrations too. So you can run the migrations manually with .NET as well?
Yes, we just don't have an external IP address for the stage and production database, a public IP address.
Okay. So it's up again. And then we'll see if this.
We do have a machine that's on the network that can reach them. We right now don't have SQL Server Management Studio running. We just have Azure Data Studio because it runs on Linux, which is not nearly as robust. But I guess you would still need SQL Server Management Studio wouldn't be enough to run migrations anyway. You'd have to.
So if the machines have the .NET SDK, you can run them just on your production, just running .NET directly.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So you can do .NET, .NET EF. Oh god.
Yeah, .NET EF. Right.
Database update, is it? So you can run it manually.
So
and all you need to have is .NET on there.
So I think we'd run into the same error we were having before, though, is my guess.
What was the error? Sorry, I probably just jumped in something. I don't know what's going on.
That's totally fine. I'm glad you did. We are working on day 3 of an issue. Oh, you remember that one? You were involved in the daily stand-up for Monday, I think.
Yeah.
So we have never fully come back from that issue. So it's not cooperating. There's either one of two scenarios. Either you start off with an empty schema and for whatever reason it fails during the migrate step, even on an empty schema. saying that the ASP.NET users table already exists, which is completely wrong because we go query it and there's no tables. Then the other possibility is you come up against a table that has the migrations already run. The specific migration that's trying to run has been run and it's in the history table. And when it goes to evaluate that one, it runs erroneously, trying to create tables when they're already there. And then, of course, yes, the ASP.NET users does already exist, but you shouldn't be running because this has already been run. We've found both of those things happening, and we haven't found a way around it.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Is it okay if I try to run the dev in stage and see if we get that same error again?
I would ask your QA who's protecting stage and prod, you want to run it in stage to see if you get the same deployment error?
Yeah, so like just since it's empty, I want to see if it does that again. Because it seems so strange that it does.
If you do, then I would suggest keeping track of whatever was in here before you modified it so you can roll it back.
Okay. Let me copy that then.
Okay. Wow. Okay, so that makes sense. And then
I don't think it'll run the migrate
You don't remember
unless
learning
you
about
add
that?
that back, Ryan.
he only mentions it in one video. It's
I guess we could
super
run it
easy.
from the command
And I
line
don't
that
even think
Craig's
it's a video that
suggesting as
goes
well.
But
But I think it's going to fail to start up
Okay.
Yeah.
because
And
none of
then
the tables
I
will
have
be
some
there.
questions that I wrote down.
What is just so strange is
Okay. So
without
we'll
a
do.
context, at least that error doesn't make sense. If it said, you know, that it doesn't create the database, then I would understand
Oh, you do it.
an error, you know.
Okay. So here's the question.
But when
I
it's an
have
empty
to
schema and it says that you
So
have
for
already
number
had that
19,
table, I just want to
Yeah.
see if it was
how do you get
maybe just a hiccup.
all
Oh,
of the
already
points
broken.
in direction?
that we
What
can
does it say now?
get pods. And
Because that seems like something that's important, but I can't remember.
this would be the stage, right?
You want constellation stage, I think.
Constellation stage. Yep.
That is, okay. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Error occurred seeding the database.
Sequence contains more than one matching element. So what build number did you use?
I thought I used the most recent one. C11A57 E41.
That's actually, sorry, that's a build number, but that's not the number we want. We actually want that commit tag, right? Oh, and they're both the same.
Oh yeah, and then
It might be as well that, so going from dev to stage, well, it shouldn't have that same data in it,
and that will make them go in
right?
the same direction.
Because it's initializing it with the skills, disciplines, posting types.
What line did it fail on?
Okay, and then for 20,
Let's see.
Line 158 again?
58 again.
So 25.
You could always query stage and make sure it's really gone.
That's the one that took me forever to get
Yeah.
back. So how does the water get in?
So what is that? It's exec IT.
Here, I'll circle it.
I mean, through the Ubuntu server, you could query it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, water
Gotcha.
here. Let me see if I so I wrote for I might have something wrong.
Okay, let me drag Ubuntu over to this side.
Oh, H2SO4, and it will have water in it too. Oh.
So forgive me, I haven't seen this thing before.
Oh, it is. I missed that.
Yeah.
This is somebody's new Ubuntu box. Ryan?
Oh.
You want to explain it, Brother Murdoch? You know it a little bit better than I do.
We ran into this problem. Or Brother Godfrey, you can explain why we did this. Do you want to
So
explain
I
it?
don't have, do I have to put things in water?
This is really just another box to help test what's going on in the cluster. So this one sits on the same network. It's not on the same cluster though, right?
Right,
It
it's
is
not in Kubernetes.
Yeah. You say it's not inside of that, it sits just outside of it, so we have an interface to it.
It's on the same VPC.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay.
both
So
of
I'm
those
guessing this is probably stage.
are- Okay.
Looking at
Oh,
the
there's a big
tables.
one and a little one.
We
Okay.
could also just do that same query we did last time where we
What is
did
the-
select.
You don't really
Is it
see
stage,
the
Ryan?
H2SO4
Was that?
really.
Are you in
I think
stage?
so. Yeah, it was 10 dot something. I think that is stage.
The 42019.
Yeah.
And you know you can name them too. That makes it easier.
Oh, I didn't know I
If
could
you
name.
edit the connection and then give it a name,
Okay. That
makes
makes
it
sense. I was
nice.
wondering why that was like that. When I was drawing it, I was like, what is the,
That makes sense. And
okay,
then
that makes more sense. Okay, now.
Well, so I thought you would drop the whole database.
I did, yeah. And so it probably populated it to the point until it was initializing. Or,
what happens
yeah.
to H? And I'll show you
Huh.
specifically where I was looking.
I'm really confused.
So the full reason why we chose Linux
So,
Ubuntu, right, was just to avoid the
like,
licensing
I had your drawing of what
cost
happens
itself
to the H
for a
here?
Windows.
Here?
Yeah, this server costs us $7 a month to run, and for the equivalent Windows server, it's $70 a month. And that's for a preemptible instance, which means Google can shut it down whenever they want because we're never using it hardly. So that's why it's $7 normally. But if you add Windows on there, it goes up by $63.
Oh, okay, so they literally just swap places. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. And then, next one I had was.
I forgot this
number
cool little
6,
thing that I'm learning today. What's it called again?
6, which is.
Started with an H, I think.
It's over.
Oh,
Number 6.
um,
Going from to. Yeah.
skill
Okay, so
name.
6.
I know the where.
I think it's comma count, right?
5, 6. Okay.
Oh, yep.
So,
Comma count.
it's elimination with a large
Skill.
base, right? Okay, and so when
Where count
I
star
can't
greater than
I'll
1.
draw on the screen. So when it's taking the
Oh, do we need to do a group by?
okay,
We
so I
need to
have,
do after
say I
count
have a
skill.
module right here,
Before the where, we say group by.
and there's the
And
one right there
what do we group by?
with the ERs right here.
Uh,
Oh, that's a
by
and that's an R.
skill name.
Okay, so you have the PR, and does that, does it take this H?
And then instead of where, we did
Having.
having.
This H, right?
Aha. So there was two. But I fixed that in the.
Maybe it got seeded
Because
before,
it's big,
Ryan.
it would take
Maybe it
the
did.
one with, yeah, but if it was.
If
there
it got
was no
inserted
what would it
before
take the
you
one with
deployed
the
just
base?
now, but I'm confused how that
Yes,
happened
so
because I know we don't
okay.
auto deploy,
I got that now.
and I know you
That's
said
why
you
I
dropped
have it in my head
everything.
like that. Yeah, second
I'm starting to think you didn't really drop it all, even though we thought you did.
Yeah,
That was my
because all I
question that
did was I
wrote
just said
down
drop database
for
constellation.
this. But, oh wait, I did have one more question on.
But did it come back successfully after we did that?
Well, I had to do, actually, I guess I had to do that one query that you showed first
Yeah.
because it's currently in use. So that was, you put that in Teams.
So I need it's on
General.
this. So what is an internal hard drive shift again? I forgot.
Run.
That's going to do both of them, right?
Non-qualified transactions are being rolled back. Completion. So does that mean it was successful then?
Yeah, it ran everything.
And then if
So if you
I,
refresh, I bet you if you refresh that
And
database,
it moves.
that's what happened last time too, is just gone.
really?
Yeah.
Oh,
So if that's the case, I'll just minimize this desktop.
But E2 reactions normally happen in one step.
so you could rerun that same build again that you deployed stage.
Yeah. I
Is there
want-
any chance that a snapshot of storage could have got rolled back?
We don't do any snapshots on these.
Okay.
Because I've had a time where that my cloud provider, they tanked and they rolled back, and
Oh,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
That's what it was.
Possible.
So we want to grab this build number, correct? And make
No,
it.
you want the commit tag.
Oh, okay.
The reason is we name the images off the commit tag, so they're the same name, same number.
Okay. So then I go to triggers, and then I go to the stage and edit. So instead of the CD, I just do inside.
They got a space,
So
yeah,
my error.
that's right.
Save, and then run.
And then the SN2, the 2 right here, does that mean it happens twice? What does that mean?
So it's still used. That's
Not
so
off the top of my head, but you drew it out yesterday.
What's that, Ryan?
It succeeded, apparently. Yes, they use it.
Well,
What is it? Is it still test constellation?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so if it's broken, then I need expand that guy so it's easy to see. So stage there. Probably just the get logs should
Yeah.
be the first step.
okay. Well, and then can you
You
find
can
what
get
the
looping then.
reaction looks like?
I bet it's in crash loop back off again.
Crap. Yep.
So all we've got to do is edit it again like we did before.
Yeah.
It just, it's weird that it gets rid of the logs in this
Stop sharing.
cycle. It's annoying.
I would love to see.
Okay. And then we'll go to liveness probe.
Yeah.
Let me find it. Did I pass it already?
I think it is right there. Yeah. Keep going up. You're right on it. That's it.
Oh, okay. Liveness probe.
Yes, I remember that.
That should be good, right?
Yeah.
supposed to do scale.
Oh, okay.
Set it to 0. Set it to 1.
Can I take a screenshot of it?
It'll restart. So why would it say it's successful
I was actually having a really hard time with that when I was saying that.
when it
That's
wasn't?
really helpful.
I'm trying to figure that out. We get that a lot. I don't know why. I mean, it did deploy it successfully, but I'd like it to be unhappy if it.
Yeah.
So I have
If the liveness probe fails, I think the build should fail. I think those
Yeah.
two should go together.
I'd agree with that.
Okay. So, I think.
We probably should make a
Do you have something
card
like
for that in stand
I
up.
sent you, or should I just look at it?
Okay.
What?
So is that saying it was successful?
Yeah.
Because that's really helpful to be
I
able
don't
to
get
look
it.
at it and not block.
What?
Okay.
Oh,
Whatever.
I didn't expect that to work.
No.
Weird. Well, do you guys have any ideas of why it worked this time and it didn't last time?
Magic gremlins.
Apparently the gods are happier now.
Yeah. What did you do?
I wonder if when we explicitly ran migrate, we were stomping on something that's already doing it.
Maybe.
Because we had added code that ran migrate from within the application, and we've completely commented that out, and it started on an empty schema, and now.
So funny. Did you have from a V by chance?
But we didn't even recreate that schema, right?
It should be made now. I can pull up the guy again.
Well, he likes it. He does everything
But
with
It should
cat.
be fully there then.
I thought that the
In a strange photo.
entity framework didn't do creating schemas for you when you ran the migrations. Does it create a schema for you as well?
Like,
The
Thought it
database?
did.
he has like cats in his word problems all the time.
This is really
They
strange.
always like, they're not very nice to the cats. But
There it is. There's all the tables. And then if we,
and then
skill, that's weird. Why wouldn't that work? Skill. Select skill name, count from skill by skill name having a count greater than 1.
Looks
This is
good.
what we ran last time.
oh, okay, I see it. Well, is it
Invalid object name skill.
We have a data table called skill. Does it just not know we're connected to this specific query?
See your up in your kind of line where it says run, the database selected as master.
Oh,
Good
thank you.
catch.
Okay, thank you.
Now I think it should work.
That's really helpful.
Yep,
Okay,
okay.
do you have I
And now we can go back and make that the actual query and make sure that it doesn't have it now. Yeah, so now it is showing that it doesn't have any greater than 1, which was the expected behavior. But why did it have 2 when it was empty? Oh well, I guess it works.
Oh well, I'd love to do some more.
So what if we run it, if we start it again, your initializer check for if the table is populated, or what does it do?
Say that again.
You're proud
How
of
does the initializer avoid running every time?
Sorry, you cut out on my side.
Oh, no problem. How does your initializer know not to run every time?
Oh, it checks whether or not it's been populated on these 2
So I have to show
fields.
the mechanism of this. this.
So if it, let me jump
Okay.
to it.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Let's see. Let's see if I can remember how to do this. This is a hard one, but it's like a good one. This mechanism is weird. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna annotate it. And so I'm gonna start out with, so I have
So
a church.
it just does a check if there were any users in the database or posting types. So the thing is, you could run the thing and it might not create a user, but we know it'll create a posting type. This was from the default of the tutorial I watched, so that's why, or I guess I went over. That's why I have that. But this is the real one that really makes sure, because if it ever initializes posting type, then it should never run the rest of it.
That is a double bond.
So here's my question, Ryan.
Yeah.
And then
If you look at your code again, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
this guy has a long
So say
hair.
you were to create a new table that needed to be initialized in this class. So say you created a new one called recruiter type, and you had 4 rows in it, and one was direct, what do you call it, hiring manager. One is a recruiting firm. One is an HR recruiter, and one is business owner. So you've got 4 rows you need to insert into that new table. What would you do?
Probably, and in honesty, this was just the template. So what I probably could do to make it better is just do an if statement and then run this if it's empty, and do the same thing for any of these are empty. And that way I can append new initializers regardless of what's already there.
Yeah, because I think if I look at this, I think the problem was that in your mind, this was tied with the migrations, and the only thing that's tied to the migrations is that when you wiped the database clear and it had no users again, then it triggered this initializer to run.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really tied to the migrations directly.
Yeah.
So you can completely control when these run or not, and then you don't have to mess with migrations.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, I think I put that one too early. Yeah, one too early. Okay. Yeah. So instead of doing it based off of that, I can just do it based off of itself.
Yeah, and I would make like a different method for each table or something, and then it's
All right, gentlemen, I've got to go.
okay. See you, Carl.
Thanks.
This is very interesting. Thanks for walking us through some SQL debugging.
Nothing happens if you talk
Yeah,
over
that was
this
fun.
Or does the oxygen bond come down and keep off the
I think you're on the right track, Ryan.
Gotcha.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
next step? I'm like trying to figure out if I just anything in that step. There's so many, there's so much for each step.
And then if there's a discipline, then it would include all of these skills as well, but just out of not being tied down, maybe it would still be good just to have an if for each specific one, so that way we don't get tied up again. And that way we can edit skills as they come, and we're still defining what a skill is and what a discipline is.
So this part,
Yeah.
bond and this one's gonna go down. And it's gonna kick
This
off
is where NoSQL is kind of nice, because you can kind of just clobber stuff. So say you had a debate, you could just say, hey, make sure it has all these, and it'd say, okay, we got him. And that's it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
NoSQL, loved by people who code, hated by anybody that cares about their data.
Well, that's what it's perfect for. It's perfect for an application data store. And then, so you have the coders use that, and then you have everyone else use a SQL database.
Yeah. I do like the relational it makes the most sense to me out of anything else, but I can definitely see where the hangups come. Okay, so why is that? Oh, is it trying to reference?
Do you need a semicolon? Or no? Oh, no, you don't. You're doing
This
it
is
inline
trying
array.
to reference this, which now that it's in an if block is not always going to
I got to that step, I'm like,
be
I
available.
got to that step,
I would
I'm like,
just
wait a
make
minute, the
separate
code won't fit.
functions for each table, and then it'll make the code a lot cleaner.
Yeah. It's gonna undo it for
Yeah.
now, and I'll work on this tomorrow now that I know that that's
But it doesn't
how
fit.
it was. Because yeah, I'll make a function that'll clean it up. Okay, no issues. One day like that.
Yeah, it doesn't fit.
I
so
think
you
we
can
learned two
actually
things.
not
We
have it
learned
at all.
this, that this could run independently for each table. And the other thing we learned is if we don't explicitly run migrations, somehow it's running at deployment anyway.
Yeah,
And that could explain the problem where it said the table was already
So it has
there,
to be
because
from
maybe
one
one was running and then another one
It
was
has to
running.
be a little bit more.
maybe so.
That's funny. So, show me.
Wow.
Well, that's really good. Now we can at least
Where-
have a
so
pipeline.
It's on the GUI table, but this doesn't work.
Yeah.
Oh, you should.
Well,
I am having trouble.
probably
That's
call it a
really
day
good
for me.
connection.
Sounds good. Good job, Ryan.
Thank you for helping me.
Oh,
Anytime. Have a good one, guys.
See you later.
See you guys.
Yeah.